Hey everyone, this is Gary Kay, and I'm joined by my old friend Wayne. I didn't mean old Wayne. I meant old as in friend and Wayne.
The gray hairs
are
are there.
Yeah. Formerly with Zoom, now with AVer, VP of Product. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Well, you've had a busy 3 months, as many of the UCC providers have. But the most exciting thing is to come. I mean, what's interesting is all the amazing things you've done the last 3 months. You have more amazing stuff coming. And here we are going to talk about your first multi-platform or platform agnostic or whatever you want to call it approach to UCC systems, because not only are you Zoom certified, now you're Microsoft certified with a couple of models. Talk about that.
We are. Yeah, we're very excited. So earlier this week, we had the press release come out, and we announced that our CAM540 and our CAM520 Pro devices have officially been certified by Microsoft Teams for the Microsoft Teams medium room and Microsoft Teams large room spaces. So we're really excited about that. We're helping Microsoft expand their offering in those spaces, which has been fairly narrow. And now they have 2 additional products that will be able to help solve customers' needs in those spaces. So we're really excited about that contribution and the partnership.
Yeah, and the only other product they've had that's been Microsoft certified is that this company starts with an L. I can't remember the name of that company, but anyway,
I don't remember what you're.
But in any case, so talk about the difference between the 2 cameras when you would spec one versus the other. What the applications are. You said medium size and large rooms. Talk about that.
Absolutely. So with our CAM540 product, we've actually created a fairly compact PTZ camera. You know, the traditional form factor of PTZ cameras, they've been fairly bulky, rather large. So with the CAM540, we've actually reduced that footprint just a little bit. We've also introduced AI into the PTZ camera market with the CAM540. So it's allowing for smart frame technologies and other AI solutions to be able to pair with our platform partners and to help gather the data they need inside of those spaces. The CAM520 Pro actually allows us to step up on size just a little bit. So rather than a smaller form factor PTZ, it'll be your more traditional PTZ sizing, but it also provides a much higher optical zoom. It's going to give you that reach that you need in those medium and large spaces as well. But it also has the different technologies in it to assist in the spaces and help work with our platform partners and make sure that they're getting what they need out of the camera for data collection and for use cases.
So one thing that's kind of unique about the Teams platform that the other platforms haven't really taken advantage of is Teams has a lot of IoT functionality built into it that some of it's not even been activated yet, and some of it has been activated so that you can do more environmental measurement and logging documentation, theoretically, I guess, to help IT managers or facility managers figure out, okay, we're building a new room. What are the current rooms being used for? How often are they being abandoned?
Yep.
Are you able to track that kind of stuff so that someone's made an appointment, but no one ever uses the system? Are you able to kind of turn that data back to them, or how does that work?
So with our relationship with our platform partners, we actually allow our platform partners to handle a lot of that ML and kind of that data collection and manipulation of the data. With us, we are creating the platform to allow for that data capture. So you're going to be able to have people counting. You're going to be able to have those kind of that data ingest coming in to then be able to allow the platform partner to, as you mentioned, with Microsoft and the various ways that they can ingest data to manipulate it and create actions based on that. So I think our first entry into this, we are the camera. So the camera is going to be there for the data collection, not depending on much decision-making happening inside of the camera. The decision-making is happening inside of the platform in most of these cases.
But the platform has to have the ability to read the data from the camera.
Correct.
Because sometimes you're reading that, you have the ability to read that data even when you're not having a meeting that's actually a UCC-based meeting, but the camera's in the room anyway. If that's allowed by the facility, the state, the country.
Correct. It's a very, very sensitive topic, right?
It is. In fact, I wanted to ask you about that because, I mean, I think a lot of people are afraid we're going to get in a place where we can't use cameras anywhere with all of a sudden what's happening with Amazon and IBM and Microsoft canceling their facial recognition programs. But I think it's important to understand that these applications that we're dealing with are choice applications. You're choosing to have a video meeting. You're choosing to have a room specifically based on video. I think almost we have an identity problem that's being driven by fear in the consumer world rather than the reality of the professional world. You as a camera company, as a company that's building, how are you fighting that perception? Because it is a tough perception to have right now.
Well, I tell you, you have to look at where the compute is really taking place. And that's where the most concern and most regulation is going to be focused. For us, it is a data collection point right now. And having our devices being able to capture data and then pass that data along to a platform or to a service that will then decide what to do with the data makes it easier for us as a camera manufacturer.
Right.
Now, when you get into the theoretical conversation of what people are doing with that data, that's a much larger conversation. I think that with the pandemic happening, everyone is trying to solve problems rapidly. We're seeing a lot of data get used in certain ways that 6 months ago may not have been welcomed. The whole, I think right now you see in the industry the massive amount of temperature collection taking place.
That's a good example, yeah.
Temperature is PHI. And if you're not familiar with PHI, personal health information is highly protected in today's day and age with HIPAA and everything else. So I'm really surprised to see the amount of temperature collection taking place openly and freely.
But they haven't been integrated yet, right? There's very little integration. And I think there's a lot of companies saying we can do it. But like, for example, I teach at the University of North Carolina, and there's been a lot of debate of where we can put these. Can we even put these somewhere? Can we force someone to have their temperature taken? Because there's this personal rights issue on a public university campus. I mean, I granted these are not issues that AVer is going to solve, but I'm just curious your perspective on it.
I think it's all
making a camera.
Yeah, I think it's great to be able to build data collection capabilities because with that you can make multiple decisions and do multiple things that are for the benefit of the group, for the benefit of the individual, many different fronts. It's just a matter of how it's managed and what we're doing with it. And again, that's not up to me. That's not up to us. But it's a good conversation to have. And I think it's great to have the discussion. But yeah, for right now, being able to capture those data points to then be able to, and when we say capture, again, the camera doesn't collect the data. The camera is not storing the data.
Right.
The camera
is just an imager.
Correct. It is a optical capability to be able to track data sets and what it's reading real time and then be able to pass that along to wherever it needs to go. But with that, again, you're starting to see, the amount of measurements that people are wanting to take inside of these spaces. And it's kind of like digital signage. Digital signage, you start to identify new places on a corporate campus or in a higher education institution where you need to communicate data. In the physical security world, cameras have kind of been that way for a while. Try to cover as much area as you can to be able to capture what you need. But now you're starting to see this blending of the intelligence along with the data, the visual collection, but measurements of how many people coming in, how many people going out, how far apart they are from one another. It's getting exciting.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because a lot of these devices can solve some of the social distancing issues that we're going to face in the future. Let's go back and talk about Microsoft Teams. I mean, Microsoft Teams has sort of been like the stepchild of the collaboration industry, even though they have a more powerful collaboration product than Zoom, for example. Zoom is really good at what it does, which is connecting you on video, making it a really simple user experience, as you're intimately familiar with. But Microsoft Teams is integrated into the platform of the ecosystem, I should say, of Microsoft. So they have a huge potential. So obviously, we're going to go back to a different world as we go back to work for a while. My view is that we'll see places like companies that had 3 conference rooms now have 6, or companies that had one big boardroom and 4 large conference rooms go to have 2 big boardrooms potentially, and 16 small conference rooms where there's only 2 people in a room. Do you agree with that? I mean, I'm not just asking you as a camera manufacturer, but isn't there logic in that? Because it's not like people are going to stop meeting because they can't sit in the same room. In fact, what will end up happening is more meetings like we're having here today are become more commonplace from wherever you're standing.
What the new normal will be, and I know the term is getting used pretty heavily, but when we return to the offices, what it's going to look like, I think we're going to see a wide variety. I don't think that it's going to be one trend. I think it's going to be multiple trends. And there's the argument to be made for, well, the medium rooms are going to get used more because we have to have more distance inside. So even if where we could fit 6 people into a huddle space before, now we have to fit 6 people into a medium room because they have to be 6 feet apart. And just do the math. You start looking at, if I have to be 6 feet apart and I have 4 people, let's say there's 2 people on each side, that's now 12 foot away from the potentially from the wall, not including the gap between the wall and the television. So you're starting to see more space and more distance in these spaces to accommodate the same number of people. Yes, we could have more 2-person meetings, being able to go from a, the floor is where I think we're going to see the most change, right? Where you would normally have people sitting 3 feet apart. Now people are sitting 6 feet apart. So just from a real estate perspective, I've lost half my available desk space because I now have to space people further apart. I think that the concept of hoteling is going to come back, where you're going to have shift work. So you'll have individuals that my day is Monday and Thursday. I'm in the office Monday and Thursday. You've already started to see, these cleaning companies come in and be able to start looking at a nightly basis versus a weekly basis. Turning over the office and making sure that it's clean for the next shift to come in the next day, that may be a different person sitting at the same desk. There's also the concept of, we've seen the big boom in the camera industry, especially of work from home. Everybody's trying to gather whatever cameras they can to be able to have this visual connection to people remotely. Is that going to be that equipment they're getting going to be dedicated to their home office, or are they going to bring it to work with them to be able to ensure it's their devices? No one else has touched it, and I set it up on my monitor that's sitting there waiting at my desk. Or do we have a desk set up dedicated to that one desk that's shared? And then the whole concept of shared devices comes cleanliness, turning it over. So I think we've got a lot of different, stories to tell with where we're going to be. And I think, as I said, I think it's going to be a combination of all of them. I don't think there's going to be one trend that's going to overtake the other.
So you can find all these new products, both these products, the 520 and 540, 520 Pro and 540 at AVer.com, AVer.com. Congratulations. You're now a company that's a multi-platform company officially, because those same products work with Zoom as well, right? They're plug and play with Zoom rooms as well. Yeah. So
we have great relationships. Yeah, we've got great relationships with Microsoft. We've got great relationships with Zoom. We're very proud to be partners of both of them, and we look forward to helping customers. And in many cases, our customers are using both platforms, so being able to have solutions that will work in both realms. So we're really excited about the opportunity, and we thank you for the time today to speak with you, Gary.
Yeah, well, the whole story is linked in the description of this podcast. If you haven't read the whole story and the details of the products, including all the specs, check it all out at raypubs.com. Type in AVer in the video search window, or you'll find the link on the bottom of this podcast, or you can go to AVer.com. Thanks a lot, Wayne. Thanks for joining me, and have a great day.
Thank you, sir.